Jane Esuantsiwa Goldsmith is a leading activist and advocate for women's human rights worldwide. She is a specialist in diversity, migration, and international development. Over her career, she has been Commissioner for the Women's National Commission, chaired the Fawcett Society, and the Gender and Development Network. She represented NGOs on the British government delegation to the UN conference in Beijing in 1995. Drawing on her work with over 100 voluntary organisations, she established 20 years ago her own consultancy company, Honorary Development. Recently, Jane worked with ActionAid on a strategy to exceed the Millennium Development Goals on water, sanitation and hygiene. She sees her work in development as intrinsically linked to her advocacy for a gender-equal and anti-racist world. These connections are very clear in the strategy Jane is now developing with the European Women's Lobby towards a feminist Europe. She's passionate about the benefits of European social policy, pointing to the progress achieved in women's rights through the European Union. As a University of Leicester undergraduate in the 1970s, Jane Esuantsiwa Goldsmith was already speaking up for women's rights and racial equality in ways that set the tone for her whole career. She studied combined arts, majoring in history and taking modules in English, American studies, sociology, politics, and phenomenology of religion. Her wide range of subject interests also meant that she knew people across the university, a network that proved useful in her many campaigning roles at Leicester. Characteristically, she was concurrently president of the Women's Liberation Group, president of the Anti-Apartheid Group, and vice chair of the Students' Union. And she successfully lobbied for the establishment of the university's first creche. As a first-year student, Jane called an emergency meeting in response to the Rugby Society's Rag Week entertainments, which featured women wrestling in mud. Jane proposed the motion, "This House is against sexism." Over 1,000 students turned up to the Percy G building. The rules allowed a 3-minute pitch, and Jane didn't allow the clock to be started until the hubbub and shouts of "off" had died down. Jane's case received a standing ovation. The motion was passed, and she brought a new understanding of the detrimental effects of sexism to the campus. The seed was sown for the university's pride in its commitment to equalities, recognised more recently, for example, in an Athena Swan Award for the institution's support of women in the sciences. From 1975 to 6, Jane was president of the Students' Union. She was the first black student and first woman to be elected, a result heralded in the local press with the headline, "University Students Pick Woman." In the photograph accompanying this article, Jane smiles confidently and modestly. With her large Angela Davis-inspired afro hair and studious glasses, she has a look of calm determination. She would draw on her history as a campaigning student in a forthcoming talk at the university for Black History Month. This occasion has parallels with the first Black Cultural Week Jane organised at Leicester back in the mid-70s. Jane's continuing involvement in the life of the university reflects her commitment to using her own, often difficult experiences to empower others, and to highlighting the history and leadership, too often told too quietly or not at all, of inspirational Black women. Jane's own family provides her with powerful role models. Her courageous white mother, who's here today to celebrate this award with her, her father, whom she later met, a chief in Ghana, and her African great-great-grandmother, from whom she takes the name Esuantsiwa. Oral tradition has it that this great-grandmother rescued the tribe and became its queen. Jane has now been crowned Queen of Development by her home village in Ghana, where she has led projects to build bathrooms, put in street lighting, and established a primary school. When Jane Esuantsiwa Goldsmith received her first degree, the author Doris Lessing was awarded an honorary degree following a student union campaign for a woman honorand. Jane was able to speak to Doris Lessing, a personal heroine of hers, about her own aspirations to be a writer. Writing in different genres is threaded through Jane's life. She began aged 8 with a play, Why I Am Brown, reflecting on her sense of difference and the prejudice she faced growing up in all-white communities. Although Jane hasn't returned to playwriting, she's since authored some of the only scholarship looking at black and ethnic minority women in rural areas in the UK, and she's written courses, including a women's rights advocacy course for womankind used worldwide. She is now writing a memoir exploring difference and identity, especially mixed race identity, through her own search, something she spoke about recently on Radio 4 Saturday Live. Of course, with Jane Esuantsiwa Goldsmith, self is never the end point. Her own history is written with the purpose of giving encouragement to others searching for identity in any way. The University of Leicester is extremely proud to claim Jane amongst our alumni. Today we honour her world-changing achievements and recognise the incredible energy and inspiration she brings to our shared goal of a more just world. Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present Jane Esuantsiwa Goldsmith that you may confer upon her the Honorary Degree of Doctor of Laws.
Well done. Congratulations, Jane. Terrific stuff. I was here at Leicester as well. Yeah. Very nice. Many congratulations.
Mr. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, everybody, I'd like to thank Dr. Holly Furneaux for her wonderful oration. And Holly, I'd really like to meet that woman you were talking about. She sounds good. In fact, I think we should be very proud of Holly because she is our very first woman orator for a degree ceremony in Leicester University. So I'm very proud. Very proud to be part of an all-woman team up here. But to tell you the truth, when I first got that grand letter offering me this honorary award, I was utterly surprised and astounded and delighted. Who, me? And the second was, so they must have forgotten all about the sit-ins and the occupations that I organised in the 70s then. All forgiven. Holly says I look studious and calm in my photo for the Leicester Merc, but really I was anything but. Back then, I was a rebel, and I still am. I was often being told off by my tutors for spending far too much time in the Students' Union rather than concentrating on getting a good degree. But the Students' Union is where I got my political education, which has lasted me a lifetime. And exactly 40 years ago today, I was crossing this very same platform, receiving my first degree, just like you, and never imagining I would be here 40 years on. And I never imagined that they would actually name a dinosaur after me at the university. If you go into the Bennett building, you will meet Jane, the T-Rex. And I think they named her after me because we share many family resemblances. We both have good bones, for example, and if you look very carefully, we've both got exactly the same smile. I was very privileged, actually, to meet my 21-year-old self recently. I mentioned to the university library, as Holly said, that I'm writing a memoir. And did they have any stuff from the 70s for my research? And lo and behold, they had stacks of it. There I was in Ripple Mag, in Leicester Merc, in the minutes of student union meetings, articles, speeches, leaflets I'd written, all about feminism, liberation, race equality, international solidarity. Completely and recognisably me, my voice, along with all my old fellow activists in all these pictures, my friends, frenemies, ex-lovers, a bit embarrassing, that meant the most to me. And what struck me apart from the sheer joy and emotion of meeting myself again, age 21, was that inside I hadn't changed much in all those years. Maybe on the outside, yes, but all the themes, values and passions that I developed here at Leicester for my future life and career were already sown here. And I think Leicester has that culture that nurtures those ideals and helps them grow. As the Vice-Chancellor said, it's not just about what you learn for exams, it's what you learn inside that really matters. And it's true, I've been lucky enough to have a career working on exactly all the things that mean the most to me. Some of my best gigs were strategic planning with 120 Dalits. And as you know, Dalits from all over India are some of the poorest and most disadvantaged and discriminated people in the world. There I was in this Buddhist temple with 150 Dalits, right next to a statue of a 30-foot-high golden statue of the Buddha. And there I put my flip chart next to it. It was a tremendous moment. And another time, I was dancing on the edge of the Kalahari Desert with a whole bunch of women activists who were working on violence against women. And they can dance, I tell you, even though they're in the most difficult situations. I have the privilege of working with people who are achieving extraordinary things against injustice and still are full of energy and hope. And as the Vice-Chancellor said, it's a tough old world out there at the moment, much tougher for students and young people now than it was 40 years ago. And we're constantly hearing about the generational divide and the fact that my generation were the privileged baby boomers with student grants and graduate jobs. But we were also full of ideas in our generation and full of ideals about making the world a better place. And this is a week when we hear that student grants are to be scrapped altogether. And when I think of all the grants demos I went on in the 70s, I believe that my generation, our generation, must tear down that generational divide we read about these days and stand in solidarity with you, with young people out there now, support you, stand beside you, and all future generations in creating a more equal society for all of us. And especially in these changing, challenging times of ours, with huge inequality all over the world, unemployment, poverty, hunger, injustice, climate change, and we're hearing now that the number of people who are having to use food banks in our country, in one of the richest countries in the world, is going up now. And human rights are constantly denied or under attack. We see that in Nigeria, if you're a girl just wanting to go to school, you could be kidnapped. If you're in Pakistan, you could be shot for wanting to go to school. And I believe that we all can and should make a difference. Now, yesterday, I was at my daughter's graduation ceremony in Sussex. So I've had quite a run of graduation ceremonies this week. And I know how proud it is, I feel, to be a parent. So all you parents out there, I've experienced that. And my daughter has just graduated in neuroscience, so she will now on be known as the brain of the family. And she is a great inspiration to us all. And while I was sitting watching the ceremony, I saw there's all the scientists, because it was all of them scientists all in red, in their red robes, and in front of them, all the medics in blue. And I felt, here's a thought, all those new medics have to swear a Hippocratic oath, don't they, not to do harm and to use their learning to save lives. And I thought, what if every single graduate, no matter what subject you read, have to swear an oath? Like a kind of people's oath, if you like. All you future bankers, lawyers, politicians, police chiefs, academics, directors, corporate capitalists, army generals, whatever you want to be, just imagine not one of those professions that I've mentioned has escaped moral and ethical crisis over the last few years. What if when we took our degrees and the Vice-Chancellor presented us with them, we all swear an oath, not just to do no harm, but to actively work with others to create a more just, healthy society in every way for everybody. Sure, it wouldn't stop bad things from happening, but it would raise expectations for all of us to put our learning at the service of others and to put our hearts and souls into championing the rights of women, men, and children. And we should be accountable, all of us, for what we do in the future. That would indeed be revolutionary. And I'm sure whatever you do next as graduates, the seeds of your future success will already have been sown here at Leicester. So be true to yourselves. Keep on holding on to the values that you learnt here. Congratulations to each and every one of you, your families, tutors, the union bar staff, everybody who had a hand in your success. I'm delighted to be here to share your special day with you. And Mr. Chancellor, it means a great deal to me personally to receive this award. I would like to accept it in solidarity with all the inspirational people I work with at the grassroots all over the world and all the fantastic voluntary organisations that support them, who are fighting for their rights and the rights of others with such courage and conviction against all the odds and with none of the privileges we have here in this room. So in the words of Angela Davis, my heroine, let's all of us commit today not to accept the things we cannot change, but to change the things we cannot accept. Thank you.